name is Mai Nguyen, and I'll be talking about the toxic chemical in the U.S. food supply. Some background information for DDT is that it was synthesized in 1874 with no specific use by a Swiss chemist named Paul Muller. Up until 1939, it was officially introduced after being efficient to get rid of moths. DDT stands for dichloro-diphenyl-trichloroethane. It contains a white amorphous powder that melts over the range of 80 to 94 EC. It was developed in order to destroy insects causing human diseases like malaria, typhus, body lice, bubonic plague, and other insect-borne illnesses. During the 1930s, DDT was considered a miracle-working insect repellent for the environment. Therefore, it was the best and only organochlorine insecticide. Many farmers and property owners use this miracle DDT for its great benefits. DDT's great benefits consist of 1. Its persistence, and it is insoluble in water, therefore rain cannot fully wash it off. Secondly, its efficiency. It is more toxic towards insects but lower in mammals. Lastly, it was beneficial for livestock production, for it rids insects that eat leaves. Therefore, farmers are able to produce healthy, clean-looking vegetables. It was also beneficial for protecting institutions, homes, and gardens. Next, statistics shows how effective DDT is. Cases of malaria fell from 400,000 to none in 1950 due to DDT use. It reduces incidence in typhus occurring in Europe by destroying insects carrying the disease. By 2010, malaria cases dropped from 655,000. DDT works by increasing the flow of sodium ions through the cell membranes of neurons in insects. By opening up the channels through which these signaling ions flow, the neurons are made artificially. When it is done on a large scale, the nervous system will get overloaded, in which it sends uncontrolled messages around the body, causing instant death for insects. Studies states that DDT is slightly to moderately to acutely toxic to mammals, including people, if eaten. This scale is showing how mammals react towards these chemicals on different levels of toxication. On an acute or lower scale, animals exposed to DDT developed hyperexcitability, tremors, incoordination, and convulsions. According to studies, DDT of rats at 50 mg/kg led to decreased thyroid function, and a single dose of 150 mg/kg led to increased blood levels of liver-produced enzymes in central nervous system of monkeys. Single dose of 50 to 160 mg/kg produced tremors in rats. Furthermore, in a single dose of 160 mg/kg produced hind leg paralysis in guinea pigs. More importantly, mice suffered convulsions following one-time oral dose of 200 mg/kg. On a different scale of high toxication or chronic, DDT has caused chronic effects on nervous system, liver, kidneys, and immune system. Kidney effects observed in animals includes adrenal gland hemorrhage in dogs at doses of 138.5 mg/kg per day over 10 days, and adrenal gland damage at 50 mg/kg over 150 days in dogs. In one study between male mice and female mice consumption of DDT, males were twice as likely to develop liver tumor. How DDT affects the food chain. DDT works through the process of biomagnification, where it attacks itself through the body fat and contaminates the food chain. Another toxic chemical introduced containing DDT is called POP. POP stands for Persistent Organic Pollutants. POP not only contains DDT, but also hazardous chemicals called dieldrin and DDE. POP spreads epidemically, contaminating our land, water sources, and food chain. Nearly all food contains DDT, DDE, dieldrin, and toxaphene. Although POPs have been prohibited of use, they still persist in water and soil, where they are taken up by animals and plants that ultimately is consumed by humans. Therefore, POPs affect all aspects of living things. Analysis of data showing that POP residues are present in virtually all foods, which includes baked goods, fruit, vegetables, meat, poultry, and dairy products. Most commonly found POPs being DDT and its metabolites are found in 21% of samples tested in 1998 and 22% in 1999. Moreover, dieldrin and DDT are both highly persistent and toxic organochlorine pesticides which are found in every food item according to scientific results. Human health effects are now linked to POPs exposure, including cancer, learning disorder, impaired immune function, and most importantly, reproductive dysfunction, mostly targeting at reproductive dysfunction affecting sperm counts, endometriosis, and diabetes. Secondly, it also impacts human developmental, behavioral, neurologic, endocrine, and immunologic adverse health effects. Several ways humans are exposed to POPs and DDT are drinking contaminated water, direct contact with chemicals, eating contaminated food, people whose diet includes seafood, fish, shellfish, wild foods that are high in fats and locally obtained. Furthermore, people with weaker immune system are more vulnerable to environment like children and elders are more susceptible to POPs and DDT exposure. The Stockholm Convention was adopted in 2001. Until 2004, it became a global treaty to safeguard human health and the environment from toxic chemicals that persist in the environment. The convention requires parties to eliminate or reduce POPs. DDT is placed in Restriction Annex, meaning its production and use is restricted to disease vector control. The convention has played an important role on controlling these harming chemicals that damages our environment. For an example, EPA and the states have significantly reduced the release of dioxin to furans to land, air, and water in the U.S. sources. Additionally, the EPA has also been working diligently on the reduction of DDT and global sources. The United States and Canada also had an agreement for the virtual elimination of persistent toxic substances in the Great Lakes in order to reduce emissions from toxic substances. The United States has also signed the Regional Protocol of the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe on POPs under the Convention on Long-Range Transboundary Air Pollution, which addresses the Stockholm Convention POPs and other chemicals. Some other history information about getting rid of DDT. In 1969, the U.S. Department of Agriculture abolished registration of DDT use. In 1970, the U.S. Department of Agriculture abolished DDT on crops, commercial plants, wood products, and building purposes. In 1972, under the EPA, DDT remained cancelled. In 1989, the remaining exempted use containing public health use for controlling vector-borne illnesses, military use for quarantine, prescription drug use for body lice are stopped voluntarily. However, in today, even though it is completely banned in the US, foreign countries in Asia and Africa, pesticide is still in use.